It's finally time. Heat maker B Knuckle. I have 4 different ways. That's 3. You know, the knuckles are lighter, the control arm's lighter. So yeah, shout out Coil River Depot. As always, make sure you hit them up if you need anything at www.coilriverdepot.com. Alright, hopefully that's good enough. Alright, it's finally time to open this package. It's been over a week. I wasted a bunch of time trying to get this garage ready so that this video would be a lot better and future videos would be a lot better. But what we got right here is Wisefab V3. If you watched my last video, you know I spoke on it very vaguely, but it's finally here. Let's open it up. I lost my blade. Found my blade. Dang. Coil River Depot stickers. Oh, and a keychain. Front steering rack conversion kit. Instructions. Oh, look at that. Big Wisefab sticker. 2 big Wisefab stickers. Yeesh! These are tight. A bit of holographics. Alright. Let's do it. Blue stuff. A little bit of a pro tip, always check the box before you toss it. You never know what's going to be inside of it, like some loose bolts. That's not the case here, but it's happened plenty of times to me before. This is honestly probably one of the nicest parts I've ever received. You know, Wisefab's quality is insane. You know, if you look at Formula Drift, the biggest thing that you ever see, Wisefab, right? Every single car, I mean, honestly, probably 90% of the cars have Wisefab. And I mean, that's saying something in itself. So yeah, let's get these all unwrapped. We'll dive in a little bit further, talk about some pros and cons and why I chose this and stepped away from a cut knuckle setup. Well, that took forever to unbox. Like, literally 20 minutes it took me. Whoever wrapped this stuff up at Wisefab definitely needs a raise. So as you can see in front of us, this kit includes the CNC custom knuckle, custom lower control arms, eliminates tension rods, huge tie rods, rack relocation kit, and camber plates. So let's dive into this kit a little bit deeper. What we're going to do is we're going to start out with the knuckles. We're going to compare them to the stock knuckles that I had on the car. And then we'll walk through that process as far as the rest of the kit goes. We'll do a little bit of comparison as to what I had and the benefits to going with Wisefab over stock. So here we have Heatmaker B Knuckle. This is a stock knuckle cut and re-welded. And then this is the Wisefab V3 S14, S15, 5-lug knuckle. All CNC parts, welded together. Honestly, the same weight. Actually, wow. This knuckle is actually heavier than this knuckle. That's surprising. Benefits to this knuckle, Ackerman adjustment. So we have 4 different Ackerman adjustments. So one of the big decision makers for me was that I could make this knuckle drive like this knuckle. That's a huge selling point, right? Because I can make this knuckle drive like this knuckle. I can make this knuckle drive like, you know, something else. I have 4 different ways. That's 3. I have 4 different ways that I could set this up. This old setup was great, but honestly, I'm kind of bored. And I'm really looking to see what that next step is like. And this is going to take me there. Also included in this, not included in that, is a steering lock stop, an adjustable one. So this has 6 different settings that you can rotate this to stop the steering wherever you would like. So if you want to stop at 60 degrees, 50 degrees, I mean, these numbers are not correct, right? I'm just spitballing here, but you can change that to 6 different settings as to how far you want this angle to actually go. Let's move on to the control arms. I forgot to mention earlier, but with this knuckle is designed for an S14, whereas S13 coilovers have a 12mm bolt and S14s have 14mm bolts. Wisefab supplies these adapters, so in my case, I'm not sure yet, I'm either going to drill out my coilover to a 14mm, or I'm going to take these and press them in, and then all I have to do is just use the existing bolts I already had. So, big differences here. Stock control arm, stock tension rod, 2 pieces. Once we get this bolted on, this will be 1 piece, right? That's a big benefit in itself, just because, one, these bolts come loose all the time on this setup. I will not have to worry about that anymore. So bolt checks are a lot easier. Another thing is this control arm is not adjustable. So with the Wisefab, they have an adjustment right here. So if you wanted to change your lower control arm length, you'd have all the adjustment within this spot that goes to the subframe. And then your caster adjustment now is adjusted by this rather than this entire arm. So with Wisefab, they have an Allen hole right here. So you can make adjustments on the car, super easy. Stick your Allen in there, you adjust this just like so, in or out. But you want to make sure that you leave this center bolt tight, snug, and then you loosen these outers. If you do not do that, you will bind up the suspension. These slots are in place so that as you adjust your caster, the control arm and all the other suspension components can move freely as they wish. Weight-wise, yeah, I mean, once again, this stuff is lighter than this stuff, which is just so shocking to me because this is, what is that? That's like 1/2 inch steel. It's massive. I mean, this is a big piece. Whereas this is just a stamped, this is just stamped sheet metal. And then I think this thing's aluminum, I'm not 100% sure, but either way it goes. I wish I had a scale, it'd be interesting to do that. But we got the old Josh arms. This one's definitely lighter. So we're getting more adjustment and we're saving weight. You also have a sway bar mount, which is huge from my understanding in previous versions of Wisefab. So V1 and V2, it did not come with this. All right, let's check these tie rods out. Big thing with the tie rods right away, just like in the control arm, spherical bearings. These things are a lot stronger and they last a lot longer, as well as they're a lot easier to replace. So another thing would be, you're probably wondering what that guy is. That's the tie rod spacer. Same thing as this. This is a tie rod spacer. So this is a 15mm tie rod spacer, a Maxima inner tie rod, and a stock S13 outer. These inner tie rods wear out all the time, in my case. I was changing them every like 2 events. This thing is beefy. Super long, super beefy. This spacer, I highly doubt it's ever going to fail. I mean, it's got huge threads. It's a big piece, a lot of abuse. And then same thing with this, being shorter, a lot more strength within this component. Spherical bearing, that's great. Something I didn't mention with the tie rod or with the control arm, I'm not sure. I actually had the stock ball joint on the S13 control arm fall out on me at Polecat. Luckily, I was going slow enough to where it didn't cause any issues. But that's also a positive, right? If you don't weld those things in, they're going to fall out. And realistically, I don't even want to think about that. I don't want to be worried about my welds cracking and the ball joint falling out. Camber plates. These things come with these spacers in case that you do not have room to mount your shock Or if you don't want to cut your shock tower up, you can also use this spacer. In my case, I'm going to get rid of this spacer, hopefully, as long as I don't have any clearance issues, and I'm just going to cut my shock tower out so that I only have this one piece. I like to eliminate as many items I can within a unit so that there's less things that can fail. Not that I think that this would fail. I mean, this is a pretty beefy piece, but you know, it's one less thing to think about. So this is pretty interesting. Let's see. Let's dive into the subframe. Talk about what we got to do to that. I'm getting cold, actually. If I run the heater, all you guys will hear is the heater. So your boy is cold. Ugh. All right, stock S13 front subframe, Wisefab relocation kit, BMW rack. So what we'll do here is we'll take Wisefab's supplied templates and we will lay them over in the positions that they lay out in the instructions, mark this subframe out, and we'll cut those pieces out. And then long story short, we'll shove this thing on there, we'll bolt the rack in there, and then we'll tack weld this piece on. And then once it's tack welded, I'm going to pull the rack on and off just to make sure it fits easy. And then we'll shove everything back together and we're going to fully weld this thing up the best that we can. You want to make sure that you weld it with everything in there to avoid any flexing. There's a lot of material here. For example, if you were to weld just this side and not this side, you would get twist because of all that heat here. As it cools, this material will warp. You want to avoid warping. So make sure that when you weld this, you weld it all the way together. And then when you pull it off, Wisefab has these braces. Because you cut so much out of the subframe, you want to make sure that you add back in that strength. So yeah, this thing will pretty much go like this. You will have this bolted onto here. Long story short, get your 2 bolts, slide that thing in there, bolt those in, take the supplied extension. This will go onto the steering shaft of the BMW rack, and then you'll take the U-joint from your S13 steering shaft and slide that on there. Steery, boom, boom. Good to go. So that sums up that kit. Honestly, I'm really surprised at the fact that this entire kit is lighter, and the knuckles are lighter, the control arm's lighter. I wish I had the rack still so I could check that out, but I think the BMW rack would be a little bit heavier just based on its size. But yeah, super happy with everything. I haven't been excited for car parts in a very long time. So I cannot wait to get this stuff on the car. If you want to see more about that, make sure you watch my next YouTube video where I'll spend the time modifying the subframe. There's not a lot of videos out there on this. I mean, there's a couple, but not too many. I'm hoping to capture that in a different light and make it a little more understandable. I mean, there's some other videos out there where it's pretty understanding, but I feel they don't do the best job. So I'm hoping that I can spend the proper amount of time to make this very, very, very clear for anybody watching this video. And then, yeah, man, like I said, we're gonna shoot to get this thing on the car this weekend. So yeah, shout out Coil River Depot. Thank you guys so much for helping me out with this build. As always, make sure you hit them up if you need anything at www.coilriverdepot.com. They now stock Wisefab, they stock BCs, they stock ISR, Megan, tons of other brands to get you going. Make sure to hit them up. And also, make sure to just watch my stuff, dude. And I just spent all this time telling you about this, right? So like, subscribe, you know what I mean? Follow along for the next video. We'll be installing this kit. See you guys then.